Friendship with God. An uncommon dialogue. (11) Thank you for this wonderful dialogue on how to have a friendship with God. I'm having another marvelous time with you. And these first 5 steps alone, know God, trust God, love God, embrace God, use God, could change people's lives. Yes. But, patience. There are 2 more. I know. And I need a little help with the next one. Help God. Yes. I need a little help understanding why you need help. I thought you were the one who didn't need anything. I don't need help, but I enjoy having it. It makes things easier. Easier? I thought there were no levels of difficulty in God's world. Are you going back on yourself? No, in ultimate reality there are not. When I converse with you here, I most often use terms consistent with your illusion. If I always spoke to you in terms consistent with ultimate reality, we could not have any conversation at all. You could not understand. It is very challenging to you when I do so even occasionally. The difficulty is that you do not have words for most of what there is to convey, and of that for which you do have words, you do not have a context within which to place them. This is the difficulty with much spiritual and esoteric writing. They are attempts to convey truth about ultimate reality with limited words, taken out of context. That must be why so much spiritual writing and sacred scripture has been misinterpreted. You're right. So within the context of my understanding, what did you mean when you said that your having my help makes things easier? I meant that it makes things easier for you. Oh. I thought you meant that it makes things easier for you. In a sense I did, and it does. But, you see, here's where we get into that context thing again. I am crossing over into the context of ultimate reality when I say things like that. In ultimate reality, what helps you, helps me, because in ultimate reality, you and I are one. There is no separation between us. Yet within the separation paradigm in which you live, within the illusion you are experiencing, such a statement has no meaning. Throughout this dialogue I have had to do that kind of crossing over, moving from one context to another, in order to explain things that cannot be explained simply by staying within the framework of your own earthly experience. Thus, it is a challenge for you to grok in fullness. As wonderful Robert Heinlein would put it, what I mean when I say help God. Most people can't even grok in fullness what grok in fullness means. Well, exactly. That's the problem, right there. You grok it in fullness. Why don't we just say, then, that it makes things easier for us when I help God? But now, tell me, how does it make things easier? In order for you to understand that, you have to understand what God is trying to do. You have to understand what I am up to. I think I do. You are recreating yourself anew in every single moment of now. You are doing this in the next grandest version of the greatest vision you ever held about who you are. And you are doing this in, as, and through us. In that sense, we are you. We are members of the body of God. We are God, Godding. You have remembered well, my friend. Once again, we begin to speak with one voice. This is good, for you shall be one of many messengers, not only a seeker of the light, but a bringer of the light. And that is how I can best help you. I can best help by remembering. Or, as you would put it, remembering. That is, becoming a member once again of the body of God. You have truly understood. You have grasped this completely, in its every nuance. Now here is how you can help God. Live your life deliberately, harmoniously, and beneficially. These 3 ways of living you can accomplish by using the gifts I have given you: creative energy, gentle wisdom, and pure love. Creative energy has been placed by me in your entire being, and in everything that proceeds from it. Thoughts, words, and deeds are the 3 tools of creation. When you know this, you can choose to be the cause of your experience, rather than being at the effect of it. Life proceeds out of your intentions for it. When you are aware of this, you can live your life deliberately. The things you think deliberately. The things you say deliberately. The things you do deliberately. When you do something and people say, "You did that deliberately," it will not be an accusation, but a compliment. Everything you do on purpose, and your purpose in every moment of your life is, indeed, to live the grandest version of the greatest vision ever you held about who you are. When you use creative energy, you help God be more of what God is, and seeks to experience of itself. Gentle wisdom has been placed by me in your soul. When you use this gift, you live harmoniously in any situation. Your very being is harmony itself. Harmony means feeling the vibration of the moment, of the person, place, or circumstance you are now experiencing, and blending with it. Blending does not mean matching. Singing in harmony does not mean singing in unison. It does mean singing together. When you sing in harmony, you change the way the entire song is sung. It becomes a new song, a different song. This is the song of the soul, and there is none more beautiful. Bring a gentle wisdom to your moments. Watch it change them. Watch it change you. You have that gentle wisdom within you. I have placed it there, and it has never left you. Call on it in times of difficulty and stress, in times of decision or enmity, and it will be there. For when you call on it, you call on me. When you use gentle wisdom, you help God be more of what God is, and seeks to experience of itself. Pure love has been placed by me in every human heart. It is that which I am, and which you are. Your heart is filled with this love to overflowing. It is bursting. Your whole self is permeated by it. It is composed of it. Pure love is who you are. When you express pure love, you give yourself the direct experience of who you are. It is the greatest gift. It looks as if you are giving a gift to others. And you are giving it to yourself. That is because there is no one else in the room. It only looks as if there is. Pure love allows you to see the truth. When you come from a place of pure love, you live a life that is beneficial to everyone. You make sure that everyone benefits from your having been here. Kindness becomes an important word to you. Suddenly, you understand its deeper meaning. Kindness means not only goodness, it means sameness. You realize when you live in pure love that you and all others are of like kind. You are truly kin, and now, suddenly, you see that when you express pure love you are expressing kinness. This is what it means to be a kindred spirit. This is what it is to know a oneness with all things. And when, in any circumstance or situation, you use pure love, you help God be more of what God is, and seeks to experience of itself. You help God when you help yourself to God. So have a big helping. Help yourself to as much of God as you like. For this is the food of life, by which all things are nourished. Take, and eat of this, for this is my body. You are all members of that one body. And it is time, now, to remember. I would not tell this to you if it were not so. This is the greatest truth, so help me/God. I have never seen words come together like that, so meaningfully. It's all so symmetrical. God is symmetrical. God is perfect symmetry. There is order in the chaos. There is perfection in the design. I see that. I see the perfection in the design throughout my life, even in my friend Joe Alton going to jail, though I was shocked when it happened. Joe Alton was found to have committed some relatively minor offenses relating to campaign contributions, and he spent a few months in a minimum security lockup at a federal prison in Allenwood, Pennsylvania. The lesson for me in it all, something I always knew but had forgotten, was that there are few saints among us. All of us are trying our best, and many of us stumble and fall. This remembering has helped me to stay out of my judgments when the weaknesses of others are revealed by their actions, and when my weaknesses are revealed by mine. It has not been an easy task, and I have not always succeeded. But since my days in and Arundel County politics, I have always tried. They taught me to always try. There was another reason I'd been thrust into Joe Alton's presence, though, having nothing to do with this. At some level I must have known that I had to train myself for being with the public. For dealing one-on-one with large numbers of people. I couldn't have picked a better trainer. Joe Alton had a richer understanding of human nature than just about any person I'd met. Working with him, first as a low-level campaign aide, then as a low-level staff member in the county government, I had a chance to see him put that into action, and it dramatically changed my own way of dealing with people. Joe was besieged by folks wherever he went. At public meetings they would crowd around, pulling and tugging at him, each person wanting one private moment, a chance to ask a small favor, to request his help, or just to bring themselves to his attention. As they came at him from every direction, I never saw Joe Alton brush off a single person. It didn't matter how late it was, or how long he'd been there, or how much more he had to do after he left. He never failed to look everyone in the eye, or give anyone his full attention. One night following such a public meeting, I was playing lead man, making a path through the crowd in the slow trek from the front of the room to the back of the hall and our waiting car. When we climbed into the back seat at last, I turned to Joe incredulously. "How do you do it?" I asked. "How can you give so much of yourself? All those people, hanging all over you, everybody wanting something from you. It's very simple to give them what they want." Actually, Joe smiled. "What do they want?" I had to know. "What kinds of things are they asking you?" They all want the same thing. I looked at him quizzically. Don't you know what all people want? No, I had to admit. Joe looked me straight in the eye. They all want to be heard. 30 years later I would be walking out of meeting rooms and lecture halls with people coming at me from every direction, and I would remember Joe. People want to be heard, and they deserve to be. They've read your book and given you their mind from cover to cover. They've given you a part of themselves, and they want a part of you, and that's fair, and that's what Joe Alton knew. It's what he deeply understood. He wasn't giving anything away. He was giving back. I've learned that again on the lecture circuit from some wonderful people. Author Wayne Dyer always says to his audiences, I'm going to stay here until the last one of you has had your book signed and I've had a chance to visit with you. So do a lot of other speakers. They hang around. They give back. What goes around, comes around. Joe Alton was the first to teach me that wisdom, too. I learned that what goes around, comes around 30 years ago in the rough and tumble of a political campaign. We were in the trailer late one night following a long and difficult debate. Joe's opponent had been ruthless in his denunciations, saying very little about the substantive issues in the campaign, engaging instead in personal attacks. When I got back to the trailer, I headed immediately for the typewriter. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I composed a stinging and concise rebuttal, a rebuke, as I recall, of unmatched eloquence. Joe lumbered over casually. What are you writing? Your statement for the press tomorrow in response to those vicious attacks, I replied in a tone that said, what else? Joe just chuckled. You know I'm not going to use any of that, don't you? Why not? We need to come back at him. We can't let him get away with that. Okay, Joe agreed, then here's my statement. Are you ready? Yes, I thought to myself, now we're cookin'. Joe will say this much better than Fever could. Go, I said, my fingers poised. Joe dictated a one-sentence statement, I'm sorry to see my opponent doing this to himself. That's it? I burst out. That's it? That's it, Joe repeated. But what about all those things he said? We can drop down to his level, Joe said quietly, or we can rise above it. Which do you choose? But. Which do you choose? Joe asked again. I glanced at the pages I had written. I reread the first couple of paragraphs. Then I tore them up. Good choice, Joe said, and he patted me on the shoulder. You grew up tonight. Now I want to tell you something about that life experience that you may not realize. What? When you use the insight that you gained there, you are using God. When you use that story in a book like this, you are using God. Because you have taken a gift I have given you and sent it to all the world. Do you see? This is more than an interesting anecdote. This was more than a simple life episode. You brought this to yourself, and now you've shared it with us, for a reason. You seek to change yourself and change the world. The telling of stories from your life in this book is about much more than satisfying the curiosity of your readers about your past. It is about causing others to remember what they, too, have always known. Now here is the symmetry, Here is the perfection in the design. It was clear to your soul 30 years ago what persons, places, and conditions would provide perfect experiences that would prepare you to play your role in changing the world. It was also known to your soul that should you choose those experiences, what you received from them would have lasting value that you would use 30 years later. Whoa! Do you really think anything happens by accident? I tell you again, there is perfection in the design. Nothing happens in life by accident. Nothing. Nothing occurs in your life by chance. Nothing. Nothing takes place without producing the opportunity for real and lasting benefit to you. Nothing at all. The perfection of every moment may not be apparent to you, yet that will make the moment no less perfect. It will be no less a gift.